I know that I am supposed to be doing these episodes daily, and Friday would have been the perfect opportunity to do a podcast. But the way the day was set up, there was a lot of activities that occurred. So the show is going to be recorded. The show has been recorded. It just was being uploaded on Saturday. So if you just bear with me on that, I hope you all understand. We're going to just go ahead and get into the show. And thank y'all for being patient with me through the process. Hello, August. How are you? It's Past Podcast. We'll be recording every day for the month of August. Having to remember not to say April is an adjustment since I just did this a couple of months ago. But this is the past, or the Past Podcast. And we're podcasting each day in August. So check out the show. You might find something new. Episode 104 of The Past, Take 1. What is happening? What's good, y'all? The Past is back again. I am your host, BT. Hope everyone's doing well. This would be the Friday episode. It is being recorded on a Saturday morning. But since the West Coast still has a little bit of Friday in them, I'm going to acknowledge it as a Friday as of right now. Hope everyone's doing well, like I stated. As always, podcasts are being uploaded using the Spreaker.com app. I upload them through the app itself. I record using Adobe Audition, as I've shared with you all numerous times. Everyone has their preference. Some people use Audacity for Mac. If you have GarageBand or you use Logic, those are well. Also, Audacity is just a lot easier for just minuscule things that I've found to be kind of the make or break when it comes to recording. So with that being said, and also, how could I forget, the voice that you hear is crisp and clear thanks to the infamous, well-known Blue Yeti microphone. Microphone has been my savior and my sanity for a lot of these listens that I've shared with you all lately. So today's show for 104 is going to be a little more informative than it will just kind of throwing. It's mainly a way of sharing with those who have their discouragements about podcasting, let alone want to understand the podcast community. Just some information to kind of take into account as you're looking into, or if you're already in the podcasting flow. So the title of it is 14 Podcasting Facts That Will Blow Your Mind. Now, this was written about pretty much over a year ago. And it was just it's kind of pointing out the fact that podcasting is kind of coming into its own form. Most people do write, as I mentioned, or as I shared yesterday, my twin, she does her blog, and the blogging quota and the blogging queue isn't going anywhere because there are people who are always writing, who use that platform to its max potential. And oddly enough, even with me doing the podcast and having the Past Podcast page, it's still a website. It still is implemented it's still implemented and set up thanks to WordPress, which is a blogging platform. So we'll go into these stats and go into these numbers and just kind of give you some information to share or to learn. And like I say, use it wisely or use it to your best advantage. Of 300,000 podcast listeners, 63% bought something that a host had promoted on their show. Of that same group, 71% said they had visited a sponsor's website, while 62% said they would consider paying for the advertised product or service. So in other words, and that's something that I don't have, ads and promotions go a long way. So if you have anything that you're selling and you are able to get it out to the masses, that's to your advantage. So if you're able to utilize that option, go for it. Next thing, unique monthly podcast listeners have surpassed 75 million per month. And mind you, this is last year, so it may have increased a little because there are more people who, just like for those who read physical books, there are those who do audiobooks. So if you're into the audio preference, then it just works out. And from those who do writing or blogging, having a podcast option is just as more enjoyable or preferred in the listening realm. Podcast subscriptions soared past the 1 billion mark back in 2013. Not really much to say beyond that. There are 7 billion mobile devices worldwide, and 58% of Americans own a smartphone. 1 in 4 podcast consumers play their audio device in their car nearly every day. Speaking from personal experience, I normally am the guy, if I have a long road trip or if I'm going somewhere, I'll usually throw a podcast on and listen to it, and it gives you some pretty unique or informative information to help you out, or a story or something that you may not even known about before listening. There are about 30 million active blogs on the internet, but only about 200,000 active podcasts. And what's challenging about that, and like I said, that number may have increased since then, but to be able to crack or break the top 100 plateau in some podcast platforms, i.e., iTunes, Apple Music's, or just their podcast selection, it's tough. So I mean, have to be able to get yours to stand out or to make its mark compared to those who've been doing this for months, maybe years. Is just your best option. Just know that the grind has got to be consistent. Next, only 6% of all marketers are using podcasts as a form of content. That tells you a lot, because a lot of people who don't know this, and this is something that is kind of going to be near and dear to me. No one's sitting here saying, okay, I'm doing a business and it's something that I want to promote, so I'm going to make a podcast to talk about it. No, that's not what I mean. It just means that as if you are looking at trying to get yourself out there and make your name known, then podcasting is a underground or undercover platform to do so and get that accomplished. Podcast listeners consume more than 105 minutes of audio per day than the average American. They spend more than 25% of that total audio time listening to podcasts. So in other words, it's saying that people consume and listen to different audios of different shows, and there's a vast majority of that time used of listening to just other podcasters. I know with my sports podcast on the weekends, that can kind of have its moment where it may be a good little brief stint of conversation, or hey, we got a whole lot to talk about and we're going to go into these topics, and hopefully y'all can stay around through the whole process. About 15% of Americans listen to a podcast at least once a month. That's valid, because there are some good podcasters who have topics to share. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't been as consistent in listening because I just have not. It's not even like the ADD can't sit still excuse. It's just I truly have not taken me time in just listening to other podcasters. 49% of Americans older than 12 are at least aware of podcasting, so it means that it's known that it exists. They may not listen to it unless you're talking about Snapchat or social media. No, I'm just kidding. That's always my shot towards younger youth or generation or whatever. 30% of Americans 30% of Americans mention that they've listened to a podcast before. I'm going to hope that's what that says. When you read a grammatical error, just don't take it personal. 1 in 5 Americans prioritize listening to a podcast in their busy schedules. Podcasts reach an equal number of men as women and are most popular with the 18 to 54 age group. I can see that being true. 88% of podcast subscribers listen to every episode. That says a lot, because some podcasters or some folks who record podcasts have so many shows. In most cases, what people may do, and I may be wrong in saying this, is it's a likelihood of doing what I call speed listening. So you double the speed, or you increase the speed by 1.5 times the normal speed to get the full listen of their podcast. The number of podcasts produced every year almost doubled between 2012 and 2014, and is increasing at a similar rate still. And they give this as a bit of a trend, and it's coincidence because I think my podcast, when I think I officially hit iTunes near this point. Well, it was probably a little before this point actually, because at that time I think I had I was kind of into the football season was getting ready to start up at that time. But they give this statement as factoring: if you aren't already podcasting, do yourself a favor and hop on the bandwagon. It's a trend that's definitely an incredible platform for growing your business, impacting thousands of people across the world. If you already have a podcast, commitment and consistency are absolutely key. The more content you provide, the greater the value, the more connected your listeners will become. Use this channel to your advantage and build your tribe. Having the content available to be listened to gives you a much more stronger leniency to let others know that you're actually into this. And you have to, and even with me, like today and this week has been commitment to self, but also making sure to put commitment to the August flow, which isn't that hard. I just have been literally trying to just keep together in every sense of the word. But I make sure that regardless of what's going on, you all may or may not see it, but to truly just sit down, get the episodes rolling, and share it and get your thoughts to the masses is always my number one point. And I do my best to be consistent with it. As far as doing times, there's never going to be a set or specific time for when I'm going to record, because each day, every day is a day of Thanksgiving. That's the best way I can put it. You just never know. So I shared these facts with you all just to kind of give you some little tidbits and some numbers. And this was not something that I'm like, oh, I just wanted to do a podcast and not to get away from not doing a podcast. I still have other topics. I just kind of saw this one and thought about it today as a good topic to talk about to you all. And hopefully you learned something new. If not, there are other stories that talk about podcasting facts. I have a bit of a personal request and a personal share for anyone who is into podcasting or who is podcasting. If you're interested in it or you're currently doing it, avoid trying to battle the trend while making it your goal to reach your masses with the platform that you have. In other words, if you're truly dedicated to sharing your messages, share them. No one's going to know what you want to get out there to others if it's not shared. And most importantly, the hardest thing to avoid doing, but the one consistent trend involving podcasting, is the infamous pod fade flow of being out there, sharing your messages, sharing your thoughts, and you get into a groove and then all of a sudden you just stop. And it's never the challenge or the issue of stopping. It's the, okay, I stopped. Am I going to continue this? Am I really going to put time into it? And that's when you end up kind of I don't want to say blocking yourself, but boxing yourself in and knowing, is this what I want to do? Or is it just something that, hey, I tried it out and I didn't really like it the way I expected myself to. So always take those tangibles or those pieces of the equation into consideration when looking at podcasting. So with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. Today is the big one as far as the infamous pass itself about sports and stuff. So I have quite a few topics. I've shared a couple, but haven't really put anything in full circle as of yet. But I will be doing that as time rolls along. So until next time, y'all be good, stay blessed, be positive, do something worthwhile for yourself, and don't neglect the ones who matter to you, because you should always matter to yourself more than anything else. And the past signing out. Peace. Another episode complete. Another show shared. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate you checking out any current shows or previous episodes. If you'd like to follow me on social media, you can look me up on the Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter under Past Podcast. If you'd like to go to the website, it is available at pastpodcast.com, where you can listen to this episode as well as previous episodes. Until next time, y'all take it easy.